June of 235,192, which brings us down to 9.6% of the adopted budget, which is within the 7 to 10% target. And then questions about that? Okay, and then I will add that it is a Hollis matter, but I think everyone should hear it. So since Hollis School District owns the building, they own the trust that holds the rental fees. And every year Hollis holds a public hearing to determine how to spend that money. That money is in order to maintain the facility at 4 Lund Lane. So the porch outside the superintendent's office has been really non-functioning for years. And so this fall that will be replaced to make it a usable egress for the building to improve safety. We're also replacing the broken spindles on the main entrance so that looks a little bit nicer. Future planned projects include redoing the roof, which needs to be done. It is leaking. And then doing exterior paint because a lot of it's vinyl siding, but the non-vinyl areas we're looking to repaint it. So I just thought you might like an update because I feel like when you're not in the Hollis District, you don't know all the amazing things going on in that building. All right.
We bumped down to 27 now?
Drum roll for 27.
I did update some information on what was sent out because some new information came out that was pertinent, particularly insurance rate increases. So can I pass out some updated documents?
So unfortunately, our insurance rate, so we typically budget at 8% increase year over year. And so we have, for our most commonly subscribed plan, because it's cheaper, that went up 15.1% for next year. And then our other plan went up 10.4%, and dental went up 4.4%. Dental has historically been either flat or less than 1%. So that was news we didn't want to get, but here it is. So there's no more GMR, it's now the rate. So that is our actual rate moving forward.
No more guessing?
No more guessing, so that's the rate we will most likely.
They guess and then they stick it to us.
But given the volatility in the market, we will likely look to go out to bid for other options. But because that would involve going something completely different than Health Trust, the plans would all be very different, and that would have to, really involve all of our unions to agree to any new plan if we were to go that route.
So this number's for all of, this is not just for the SAU employees.
It's
this
for
is
everyone.
It's for everyone. It's 15.5%.
15.1.
15.1, sorry, I was making it worse.
So I think everybody has that in front of them now. In terms of line items, there wasn't a whole lot of change, but in terms of impact, that one did change. So the two things that were adjusted since this had been sent out, one, line 123 in the fiscal year 27 adjusted budget. That's an admin vacation
Last page.
leave pay benefit for unused vacation time. We asked for some clarification from our auditor on what could be included in there because it's historically been used for 4 positions, but it's contractually obligated in 2. And he said because it's historically happened over the past handful of years that it should be included in the adjusted budget. The adjusted budget is essentially similar to a default budget. It's increases based on contractual obligations, debt service, other legal obligations that we would be required to pay. So that was an adjustment in the adjusted column, which doesn't have much impact on the summary sheet, which I'll jump to now because the other adjustment on line 125 is what Gina was just mentioning. The health insurance rates came out. We had used 8% as an estimate, but unfortunately that was a little bit low. So there's 2 plans that are utilized at the SAU. One has an increase of 15.1%, as Gina mentioned, and the other is a little bit better, 10.4%. So I was able to go back in before this and make the adjustments to line 125, which includes the insurance rates. So that was an increase from what we had anticipated and hoped. And I also adjusted dental. It's a pretty small change, although it was lower than what we were estimated. So that moved in the direction we would want it to. Health insurance rates, not quite so much.
Do either of the plans align with, for instance, the co-op driver plan or anything like that? Are they
Yeah,
all
the
different?
15.1% is the driver plan.
What's the other plan? Is it a HSA plan or something?
No, AB10, it's a little bit more of a robust plan. The deductible is lower.
So it's a more expensive plan, but the increase was less.
Correct.
And who's entitled to, is that available to everyone?
No. It's available to SAU employees. It is no longer available in Hollis. It is currently available in Brookline.
It's not in the co-op.
It's not in the co-op?
No.
Okay.
So, but is the differential cost of it paid by the employee?
Depends on which contract you're talking about. It's all different.
In the SAU office?
It's a straight percentage, regardless of the plan. So the increase is shared between the employer and the employee.
Can anyone at the SAU select either plan?
I believe so. I'm not sure about hourly individuals.
I believe they can. I don't know if anybody
Okay.
currently does elect that option.
I will say that it's the second year in a row where the driver plan has increased at a much higher percentage. So the question is, for how much longer will it actually be more expensive?
Well, I think we have to potentially across all districts, we're overdue for a real deep dive into the costs, but. we'll
Right,
see.
especially with the volatility of what's going on. I already met with some people last spring, but I said, well, we're not doing anything for July 1. But
And we didn't offer school care.
that's one benefit. But anyway, so it's definitely something
Okay.
we're going to look into.
Thank you.
Gina,
Can
can I
I-
just ask, so you said the 15.1%, that's the plan that most people are on?
Mhm.
Is that, okay.
So that's
And the
the
rates
less
are-
expensive plan.
Correct. And the rates are directly due to our usage fees. So we have, like across the state, I think the average was 10.2%. And so we're higher than the average, and that's, we have high claims.
Okay.
Can I ask, just because I don't understand how?
Sure.
Who provides the health insurance? Like, is it like Anthem or can
Anthem
you
Blue
shop
Cross
it
Blue
around?
Shield.
It is Anthem, and then is that something, is that mandated or can we shop it around?
Well, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna.
Okay.
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
we've had Health Trust for quite some time.
Sure.
We've shopped around a couple times. And looks like it's time to do that again.
Up until fairly recently, there really wasn't much municipal options.
Sure, okay.
So we had been, I guess Primex was a big one as an alternative, and they completely pulled out of the health insurance business for us. Then there, I forget, was School Care partnering with the Matthew Thornton? Did they pick up the Matthew Thornton, or did somebody else pick that up?
I thought they picked up Matthew Thornton.
Yeah, so they came onto the picture, and then I don't know what's gonna happen with them with this blow up that's happened this year, but it's been a really tough opportunity. We've had more options looking at plans within the provider of choice with Health Trust
Mhm.
than finding alternatives to Health Trust
Mm-hmm.
as an overall insurance portal for us.
Interesting.
I'm going to interrupt this conversation because you mentioned Primex. I also wanted you to know that I've been named to the board of directors for Primex. So I can share any of your thoughts and opinions, but I will have a voice at the table with our liability insurance.
So Gina, can you just tell me a little bit more about like what it would, if we do shop this around, like when would that take effect? Because would that
July
take-
1.
So next July.
Correct.
Okay. And then you said something about like having to like kind of get the unions on board. Can you just talk a little bit more about that process?
So I'm confident they're not going to be pleased with these numbers. And so they'll have a level of interest in shopping around. But what I have to do is have HR submit basically all of our enrollee information and then have them price out various options with different alternate plans. And what we would want to do is look for plans that are similar to what we currently offer, comparable plans. And then they likely come back and present, likely to the union presidents, and then that would be a conversation, a larger conversation.
So would that have to then like renegotiate, or is that like something that just gets, like how does that happen? Like if they're in the middle of a contract, how does that?
So we'd have to have sidebar agreements, but so that everyone would have to vote on it, and it would be all or nothing. We can't have part of our SAU going in one direction and part in another direction.
I know from the co-op standpoint, we can unilaterally add plans. We cannot take anything away without agreement. So if we came upon something that was clearly viewed as advantageous, a board can add it to their offerings without having to get union agreement. But if you're trying to substitute, that requires some level of negotiation, but it doesn't require necessarily opening up the entire contract. It can be done through a sidebar. Another question that comes up frequently is, are we pooling ourselves with the right group? And in the past, we've looked at whether it is beneficial to try and get pooled with the towns. And what we have found is because the towns include fire and police, it actually hurts our rates. The teaching staff or the school environment gets better overall rates because of their usage than if we have tried to pool. So the offset of getting into a bigger group has not been an advantage.
Do you know if that's the same? So the co-op can add. Do you know if that's the same across the other districts?
We can add anywhere, but we cannot.
Okay, so
take
everyone
away.
can
Yeah.
add, but no one can take.
Yeah, and then sometimes a plan just goes away.
Yeah.
And so the language will determine whether or not we are required to replace it with something comparable or not.
Okay.
But
With a sidebar, does that have to go back to a deliberative or a town meeting? No.
No.
Okay. So that if like the numbers change, we wouldn't have to go vote on that again.
no,
Like
so it
as the
depends
town.
on the the vast majority are percentages, so just like you don't have to vote on a 15.1% increase, it's just is what it is.
Mhm.
It's folded into the budget. It just becomes part of the cost of doing business.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about the
Yeah.
different
So
drafts?
I think I'll talk about the drafts and a little bit of the process with the budget subcommittee. And rather than go through this whole budget line by line, then I can kind of take questions as people have them. And what has changed from what was posted earlier, which is an important change, is that second line, percent change. That's from the fiscal year 26 adopted budget and what we're proposing. So that's the increase. So that top line number is an important one to look at. Draft 1 was what we created and brought to the budget subcommittee. And at the bottom of that column, you'll see salary increases of 4% and a merit pool of $35,033. So those are the big changes from column to column in that green box. 4% had been used historically for planning. The question was brought up, is that really in line with CPI? And if we look back, 12-month rolling average, it was closer to 3.5%. So that's one adjustment we made throughout the drafts. The other with merit pool, that's a chunk of money that's available for the superintendent and governing board's discretion to give out to SAU staff at the end of the year. That number, a question was brought up in the budget committee meeting, where did that $35,033 come from? It was based on percentages of salaries from fiscal year 25, adopted in 26, and we kept it flat in our proposal. So that's where that came from. So those were the two items that really came up for discussion in the Budget Committee's meeting. So draft 2 incorporates a change in salaries from, rather than a 4% increase, going down to 3.5% to be in line with CPI, keeping merit pool the same. Draft 3 kept the 4%, dropped the merit pool down to $27,060, which is what was actually distributed in fiscal year '25. And draft 4 combines both of those. So draft 4 is the one I shared with everybody. The SAU budget is really salary driven. And that's why the change from the adjusted budget to proposed budget is not large. But this is based on 26 to 27, those changes. So that's what each of those drafts mean. Draft 4 is what is in front of you. But that summary has, the percent increase, which is probably of interest, as well as the totals.
Do we know what the default would be?
So that would be the adjusted budget number, and that is on the last page, second to the right column.
$16,000.
Yeah, so it's a $16,000 change from, what we proposed is $16,145 higher than the adjusted budget.
So if the budget doesn't
Very
pass,
last
that's what
page.
you get.
So,
Oh, okay.
so the only differences between the budget and the adjusted budget includes $200 in technology supplies on line 48. It includes $300 in office hospitality in line 110, and then $14,545 of support staff increases. So this is, our hourly folks are always just lumped in as one increase for support staff, and so none of that, because it's not part of the contract, it's not part of the adjusted budget.
So there's rules about how to make an adjusted budget, and anything that's been contracted, we have to follow. So these are the only, I'm sure this isn't the right word, but discretionary or non-contracted items that would, so if we were to decide to present this budget to the voters and the SAU budget doesn't pass, the voters save $16,000.
Correct.
Yes.
Over three districts.
Three districts, yeah.
Just a summary, just not really a question, just a statement.
That's helpful.
It's 6:49, and I'm going to close public input at this time.
Can
Thank
I
you.
just ask a quick question? For the summary document, in looking at the differences between draft 1 and draft 2 and draft 3 and draft 4, for example, the salary increases, so obviously for draft 1 is 4 and for draft 2 is 3.5. Aren't those stipulated by contracts or no?
There is a range in the contract, I believe, 2 to 4%.
Okay. Oh, okay, thank you.
Is the work ongoing, or is draft 4 where the committee has arrived?
The two pieces that the committee asked us to look at specifically were the salary increases and that percentage, and merit pool adjustments. There was no other driving items that they asked us to look into, but we certainly could.
And we wanted to provide a little mix so you could see the differences between just an adjustment on the salaries and no adjustment on merit, and vice versa. So we wanted to bring a couple of different views
Yep.
so you could see it, because if we didn't, we'd be asking for it tonight. So we figured
Is there-
just give it to them.
Is there interest, does the committee want feedback from this board so that you,
The
I mean,
committee, the overall take was the committee wanted to bring a good solid base budget. We found ourselves getting into debate on, 4%, 3.5% CPI, but 4% might be where we want to go, or merit should be left alone or less. And we finally said, look, just bring forward a good solid budget. These type of discussions and debates should be left for the SAU board to talk about.
yeah.
So my guidance was, let's bring draft 3 and draft 4 so you could see the differences. But my take, and correct me if I'm wrong, draft 4 is what the committee is bringing forward to you.
This is not draft 3.
No.
Okay.
But if we had comments or feedback, we have all this information in front of us, so we
Absolutely.
can,
And it's up to you guys to decide, yeah, we like it, but we want to make changes.
so my question is to the superintendent, and the administrator, like, so at 3.5% increases based on CPI, and that merit pool in draft 4, if you have, people who leave and you have to hire, do you feel like you'll be in the right place for hiring? Do you feel like you'll have the funds that you need to get to where you need to go in terms of salary?
Yeah.
I just have
Is that an okay question?
a fundamental question. Is this an appropriate conversation for public versus non-public?
I hear where you're going.
Thank you.
What I was going to comment is, in the meeting, I felt comfortable that the salaries are CPI based, so 3.5% is very reasonable, and it's historically what we've done. CPI has just been higher in the past few years.
Right.
And then we were, at the time of the meeting, we were unclear as to where that $35,033 came from. So in doing some digging, that's where we understood it was a very clear calculation. And then we had proposed it level funded from FY '26 to '27. But if we were looking at FY '25 actuals, I felt comfortable utilizing that dollar amount. So we always run the risk of losing somebody. I think we've adjusted our salaries over time. So I feel better if we had to replace somebody, that we would have the ability to. We always have the fund balance that we can utilize. That's still, we're using it a lot this year, we proposed to, but I still feel like we have some room in there. And at this point, I'm not going to allow anyone to leave anymore, so it's fine because they're staying.
You got the shackles in?
Absolutely. No, but I feel comfortable with draft
Okay.
4.
So great. If you're comfortable, I'm comfortable.
So can I just ask a question about draft 3? Was there anybody that really felt strongly about that 4%? I guess I'm just curious, like, where, like, about that 0.5%.
Yeah, so I stood behind draft 4 for these following reasons. The 3.5 is more aligned to CPI, and that's, in my view, very defendable. When we start straying off CPI, it becomes, those increases, especially at the SAU level, becomes a lightning rod in March. So I felt that we could do a 3.5, defend as CPI. I was less supportive of the merit pool change, because I feel that merit gives us, ourselves, and the superintendent latitude to adjust at the end of the year, regardless of what the rates of the salaries are. And plus, we have the unassigned fund balance that we could draw from to address that. So from me, I felt that we have far more latitude with the merit and adjusting the merit at the end of the year than maybe going a little too high on the salary adjustments and then having to deal with, all kinds of input at the March meetings. So
Okay.
that's the rationale.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. That makes sense. So would you rather keep the 35,000 for the merit pool? Is that what you're saying, or would you rather just adjust that at the end of the year?
I would, but I don't see it as a big deal now because we can always adjust it at the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
When we say CPI, are we talking federal or the Northeast region?
Northeast.
Northeast
Okay.
region, December is what
December,
is when
okay.
they pull the number. If you made the determination that a particular position needed to have a salary adjustment going forward and needed to do it mid-year, how would you fund that?
So we do that more often than you might realize.
Oh, no, I realize, but I'm just, in the budget, because the merit pool is great for a one-time, one-hit thing, as is the unassigned fund balance, but we don't want to use those for things that are going to be recurring. Is there comfort that the budget has enough elasticity in it to allow for the unplanned need to change compensation for the odd position here or there.
Sure. So let me clarify. I do think the budget can manage that. And when I say that we do that all the time, or more often than you would think, it's with the hourly positions that if someone leaves and we're looking to hire in, if we have to contract that position's because we're going to have to pay more. Or the hourly rates have just kind of skyrocketed over the past few years. And so the only way we can bring in an individual is by offering a higher, hourly wage. And so we've had to do that. It often balances out because maybe we don't have someone for a month. So then we don't have a month of salary or hourly wage, and so it kind of balances out. And then you see those in May when we look to make, recommendations for the following year. But I do feel like it typically balances out. This year is just a little bit stranger with all of the transitions and the use of the fund balance. But, that's out in the open. And I'm sharing the reasons why, but between now and when we have our regular conversations in May about those, I feel very comfortable that we can live within
Great. Thank you.
budget.
Anyone
So-
else? Go ahead.
Yeah, so that to me raises a question, because I thought I understood what the salary increases were, and I want to clarify it, because the line item may or not contain. So, I know we have the step chart. We're not talking about that because we're talking about SAU, right?
Correct.
Okay, so these are all individual salaried people. We're talking about actual raises effectively. And it's not that someone could get a credential and automatically get an increase, right? This is just normal careered individuals.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I can identify, if you want to look at page 1, if you just look at like line 2, my salary, FY27 proposed, what we're saying is draft 4 puts a 3.5% increase on the salary over the FY26 approved budget. If you go down to line 11, the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, we've budgeted for a 3.5% increase. And so that's what draft 4 is saying. All of those salaried employees are at 3.5%. What becomes less direct, if you will, is, and it's not included in the adjusted budget, is line 119, support staff. So that would include all of our hourly employees. And so our hourly employees just have a $1 per hour rate. And then if we took all of their wages and added 3.5%, and this is a little bit skewed and I can explain why, then that's where you get that 14,545. The reason why that's showing 5.72% from the FY26 adopted is because we had to hire a new individual. And we could only bring that individual at a higher rate than what was budgeted with the prior individual. So, but that 14,545 does include the 3.5% increase for hourly
Yeah,
folks.
And I do appreciate that, because this is my first budget
Sure.
on the governing board.
Yeah.
And it is, I will admit, for me, very easy to get confused between no, we're talking about teachers versus we're talking about the SAU staff versus, so
Yeah.
that was very helpful to try and get it straight in my mind.
Sure.
Are there any other questions for either Gina or Lance regarding the budget discussion?
So we're gonna vote on this in December, or are you bringing this back to us after comments, or is this it?
That's a good question. I don't know if there's plans for the committee to meet again at this point. I guess we'll take any feedback tonight
Yeah.
on what's before you. There may or may not be additional changes, but I'll let the superintendent and Lance speak to that.
Yeah, well, I think to Tom's point earlier, I don't have the historical perspective on what the past process was on that, so I'll defer to Gina. I'm happy to do another meeting.
I think this would be an opportune time if there is any desire for the committee to do further work. Now's the time to say it. If there isn't, what will happen is we will have the hearing in December, and after that, we will take a vote and have the opportunity to make a decision based on what the committee has presented to us and what we have heard during the hearing.
But without further comments, I think we're at draft 4. If someone felt strongly about 1, 2, or 3, then now would be a really good time to share that, because at this point, if I hear nothing, then Lance would go back to the committee to say, the board felt comfortable with draft 4, and, we don't need to meet again as a subcommittee. Thank you for your time.
So I guess my only question is, and I'm not like probably sold one way or the other, but just like if we were to go say to like draft 2 and have the higher merit pool numbers now, would that be like more clear than us like maybe raising it at the end of the year and then people feeling like, oh, they kind of did like a bait and switch? That's, I mean, I don't know if that's a concern at all, because if we're hoping or planning to raise it anyway, I might just say just raise it now.
It's a really good question, and for historical context, years ago there was no line item,
Right.
and every year the governing board would award merit, and it would come really from no line, and so the various members, but certainly the budget subcommittee, wanted it there so that it was more transparent about this chunk of money, whatever it is for this purpose.
Right.
And so, like I said, the 27,000 is based on FY25 actuals, so I really don't have a huge concern 27 versus 35. I feel comfortable with the 27, but if you want more flexibility, I mean, obviously, I'm happy to support draft 2 as well.
I personally think it might be easier for us, because that way we can, like, we're kind of presenting that full transparency when we present the budget versus like someone feeling like, oh, they said 27 and now they're trying to raise it and they're just trying to do that without our opinion. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but I don't, anyone else.
I don't remember if we used last when we were awarding merit, did we use the entirety of the merit budget, or was there a remainder?
This is the first year we have the budget, right?
No, this will be the second year. We budgeted last year.
So
For this-
in
for-
May, you awarded $27,060.
But we had 35.
Right,
We
I
had
didn't think we
35.
used all
Right,
of
we
it.
didn't use all of it.
Okay.
The question I have is, does that number that was used, does that include, in the past, I don't think it included the budgeting for the superintendent merit increase.
So it's kind of funky.
If lines 120 through 122 have a little bit of a breakdown to that?
So you have the FY24 actual, FY25 actual, and that's based on where it was actually awarded. FY26, it was just sort of distributed, percentage based across, but at the end of the day, the sum total in this draft 4 is $27,060.
So you have included in an anticipated superintendent number in that 27 of actual?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd
Wait a
like to
minute.
make a motion.
Wait,
Hold on.
No,
Oh, I thought.
there was a,
Did that?
I know
Yeah,
Cindy
I-
was looking to have a comment.
I agree with Johanna. I like draft 2. I don't know, I mean, we just got the 35 in the budget. I don't know why we want to cut it until we see where we go with it and what little bit of history is with it. I think, maybe we didn't use it last year because it wasn't recommended. We may have different recommendations. We have a new superintendent. I don't really see reason to cut it.
There is, could we look a little closer? And without the actual spreadsheet open in front of me, if we look at the FY26 adopted budget for the merit pool piece, there's an error in there, because that is not
Or is that the
27.
actual, what was adopted for 26? Sorry, I said something because I didn't understand. So
Okay.
FY25 actual is what you guys awarded in May. FY26 adopted is what you adopted in this current year. So
yeah, we're
this
talking about this is
That-
for, this
that's
is,
it.
this is a-
Current year.
this-
Okay.
This won't be for this May, this will be for next May.
Yeah, so there
We
is
adopted
35.
it in 26, but it was for performance in 25, correct?
Right.
Because we have to do the kind of backslide with
So
the,
we'll
with
have
the,
35 this year.
You have 35
For the
this year.
first
We
time.
won't, we'll have, no, for the second time, because we had 35 last year. We'll have 35 in May of this year to award back. And this number that we're talking about is for our conversation 2 years from now, in May of 2027.
Mm.
So the question then becomes, if we get comfortable with this number, the 35 for 2 years, 3 years, 2 or 3 years, in a row, is this will be our second or third year with it?
It's been budgeted
I think it's our third.
2 years.
So this will be our third year with 35, and then we'll be cutting it after. So I'm starting to lean towards draft 2 as well. Keeping that number, for full transparency, there's no reason to cut it, and, except that it's easy, it's, the reason to cut it.
We don't have to use it,
We don't
right?
have
I
to
mean,
use it.
if we have the 35 in there and we
I'd like
budget
to
for
see
it
us-
and we don't use it, that's fine. But like
feel
Johanna
like I
said,
wanna see
to
what we
adjust
do
it
this year.
after the fact is where we always get in trouble with the public. That's
Yeah.
where people don't like it.
Rob, is this based on the discussion, is this an appropriate time for your motion and then have discussion on the motion, or is the motion?
I'm trying to provoke discussion. It's moving the way I want it,
Yeah, I don't think
where
we
it's
need a
moving.
motion, right? We just need to give you,
Well,
we need the,
what I,
who's on
what
the
I,
committee from
what I was
Brookline and
going to
Collins?
propose is that we split the difference between the 3533 and the 2760 and just find the midpoint by
32.
39,085.
39?
Oh, yeah.
3,985.
So you just add like
You mean
3,000.
29?
No,
No,
the
he meant-
difference is
okay.
$3,986.50.
So you mean add
On
that,
top of
add that
that,
or subtract it?
27,
So around 30K.
That's half of the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So-
we're
Half
up
of
to
the difference.
30,000.
So I was actually thinking the same thing, mostly because I do think, because I hear it every year and I understand to some extent, but like, I do think coming in at a lesser percentage change
That's exactly.
is something that our constituents do want, I think across the board. And I think using the variance between what was actually paid out, what we projected to pay out over the last 2.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
It gets us in that spot, and if we find that, let's say we do use all of the merit, we can always readjust in the following year.
We still have to remember that this is gonna change in it's.
Yes,
oh,
yeah. But I think it shows some good faith on our part of we're trying to rein it in a little bit.
That's exactly my motivation. It's more of what people will stick on, and they're gonna stick, the community, some in the community may stick on the overall percent change, and certainly the 4% increase on salaries. Those tend to be very sensitive sticking points, and I'm trying to find a way to,
Yeah.
If you make the
not
number
kick
30,000,
a
it's a nice
beehive.
round number.
Yeah, I
30,000.
think I would just, like, my thought process is just, let's pass what we wanna pass, so that, or present what we wanna pass, so that they can't come back later and say like, oh my gosh, like, you guys lied. Like, that's all I'm saying, but I think you're
yeah,
right.
I
Russ.
totally
Yeah,
get it.
that's
I don't like the end of year big
Yeah.
adjustments either,
Yeah.
so.
If I hear the general sentiment, people are comfortable with the 3.5% as the CPI anticipated number for budgeting, but are also interested in a reduced but not as drastically reduced merit pool, perhaps a number of 30,000?
Sounds good to me.
I do have one other question for the CPI, because
Yeah.
thinking about what you said about this is 2 years out. So trending wise for CPI, how has it, because I haven't been watching it, how has it been trending? Because you're basically, even though the 3.5 is the current CPI, right? You're basically throwing the hook out and saying, well, in 2 years, it'll only be
So-
3.5.
That's
And that's
always
what we
the
do.
case with
We
building
always have
budgets.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very difficult.
Let me just clarify one thing. The salaries, we're really talking about July 1,
Yep,
not 2 years out. It's the merit that is May of 27.
Right.
So we are.
oh,
It's
okay.
after the work
Yeah,
has been
okay.
done.
So it's even more confusing, I understand.
Yeah.
You like to confuse.
All right, and that does help, because
yeah, that
yes,
does help.
you're not
Salaries
throwing
wait
it
for next
so far out
July
that I was thinking
27.
about. Okay.
Rob, you
It's the
wa-
merit.
Yeah,
Rob, you want to go forward with the motion as you had considered?
Yes, so I'd like to make a motion that basically extends off draft 4, is to increase the merit pool to 30,000 from the 2760.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Rob, second by Holly. Is there further discussion on the motion? Does everyone understand where those numbers came from and where they're headed?
Just one comment, you're just voting on this motion, which is advising the committee, you get to vote on the budget again in December. So, and that's the vote that's really gonna make a
Yeah,
difference.
this is basically what we put forth to the public for comment.
Yeah.
And the committee will take this as a directive. It's not, we won't debate it. You changed it, we'll take it and we'll perhaps bring back another draft for December.
So I mean, Lance and Gina, are you guys comfortable with that? Like, that's not gonna, okay, cause I know we're all trying to kind of keep budgets as, you know, cause we've got a lot happening, so as long as you guys are comfortable with that, then.
Absolutely.
If there is no further discussion, I'll bring it to a vote, and I'm going to hope for the best. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you.
Goodness, don't wanna have to pull up that calculator since Secretary's not here.
No, I'm here now.
I linked it because you wouldn't have to pull out this.
No, I'm not pulling that.
Also, I mean, I'm here.
Oh, you are here now, I'm sorry, Tess, okay.
Well, maybe could we vote? And
Just for fun.
I've never gotten to use it before, so.
Well, great. There is nothing else directly on the agenda. Is there,
There's no need for a non-public.
I understand that, I was just looking to see, did the agenda say anything about other business? I'm just wondering if there's any other business that has cropped up as a result of this discussion that anyone wants to bring forth?
No, but I will just clarify that I did double check the minutes from May, and it was determined that the long form of the superintendent evaluation will be used this year. So I'm giving you proper warning that that process will have to begin in the individual boards.
And that's a revised long form,
Yeah.
correct?
Correct.
It's a much more streamlined, long form.
Yay.
It's a short long form.
So excited.
It's a kind of
Love the
long form.
Yes.
It was not a unanimous vote.
I have a question. Where are we in the context of our busing contract, our transportation contract?
I think we have this year and next year, but
Okay.
I'll have to double check.
Yeah, I think that's something, it's been a while since we looked at it, and
And that is an SAU function for those of you
I
who don't
think
know.
it would be good to start looking at it early to get people familiar with it and not get hit when it's time that we have to really look at it.
I will share with you that in June, maybe May, I did reach out to them to request updated information on our buses that no longer met the requirements of the contract. And so they were able to acquire a couple of brand new buses, and have some on order. So wanted to make sure our clunkers were still traveling.
I'd also be interested in hearing how we've been doing as far as keeping the routes populated properly. So,
That's always a good topic.
yep. Okay. I assume we do have a non-public session?
We do not.
We do not?
No. Unless you
What's
know. of one.
wrong?
I know. It's okay that we don't.
What's right?
Okay, if we do not have need for a non-public session,
Report out.
we have need for a report out by the process observer.
So this is amazing. We've managed to get through some important information. I thought the health insurance conversation was quite enlightening and educational for me even. And the budget conversation was great. So we are done at 7:14, significantly less time than we expect, 7:15. So great job, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for getting it kicked off without me. With that, we have room for one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? We are adjourned at 7:16. Thank you, everyone.
These are
Oh, I want to stay longer.